Good afternoon and welcome to Best of Pocatello. We have a really fun and exciting show for you today. We've got a lot of guests. Our first guest is Steve Isham. Steve is from Pocatello and he was with the band Autograph, who is nationally known and was just rated one of the top 40 heavy metal bands of all time. So you can see their videos right now on MTV, and we've got Steve right here to talk to us. And then along with Steve, we have a local band that he is mentoring and helping get started in the area. So we are going to have a lot of fun today. Welcome, guys.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, Steve, now you grew up in Pocatello, is that the case?
Yes, indeed I did. I started playing bars when I was 10 years old around here, and they wouldn't let me leave the stage. So that was an awkward kind of thing. But I played a place called Saint & Cellar, my first bar, right across from the office, which is now a parking lot.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then I played, which is now Duffy's, I played the Syndicate a lot when it was the Syndicate. Played the Idaho Bar, and just all the local joints until you get to a point where you definitely have to leave and start cutting records.
You do, huh?
Yeah.
So for you that happened, let's see, you went to Pokey High, right? And
Indeed.
you graduated from there?
Indeed, yeah, I graduated in 1971. But pretty much left after that and moved to Olympia, Washington, and then up to Seattle. And from there, moved down to LA and pretty much lived there for about 30 years because in those days, the Seattle scene wasn't really happening. So you had to get down to LA to make records. And that's kind of what happened. I went down there with $17 in my pocket and got in a couple bands and started making records.
So you left here by yourself. I mean, the band didn't go, that you were in high school,
I was in
didn't go with you?
Pacific Cross, great band, and I'd also played with Tom Pace. I got to give him a plug. He's my partner. We grew up next door to each other, and we had a band called The Turning Point. We were together for about 2 years, and he did all the music for Grizzly Adams, and the TV show, the movies, everything, and just had a real successful career. And we're still partners up in Coeur d'Alene. We've got a studio up there. And that turned out really good, but we never split up for any bad reasons. We just kind of, I went and rocked out, and he went and kind of soundtracked out. So we're still involved together. But went down to Southern California and played with a gal named Holly Penfield, and we made 2 records and did pretty well with a guy named Mike Chapman, who's a real famous producer. And I wrote a bunch of songs on her records, and then we split up, and I started doing some studio work and got together with the boys from Autograph. And you want to hear that story?
Sure.
Yeah, we weren't even a band, and we got together for 5 rehearsals, and we made a record with, I can't call it a record, 5 demos with a guy named Andy Johns who produced Led Zeppelin 4. And he liked it a lot and made a copy of it, and our drummer ran into David Lee Roth at the Roxy. The world famous Roxy, yeah. Yeah, it was a handy deal, and he heard the tape, and he said, well, what are you guys doing? This was in late '83. And he loved the tape, and he said, do you guys want to go on our Jump tour, the 1984 tour, which is still, to date, their biggest tour ever. And we didn't even have a name yet. And we got together, and we had 5 rehearsals, and we passed the hat in order to get gas money to go over to Florida and open for Van Halen in front of 12,500 people. So that's how that, and in those days, you can't get that kind of a gig at all unless you're a name.
Right.
We didn't even have a name until the 4th day. So yeah, so we ended up playing in Florida. Our first gig was in front of 12.5.
Wow.
And then continued on with them and started getting some, recording interest and stuff like that. But what a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me, I know you went to a lot of other countries. You played all over the U.S. Tell me what some of your most interesting or exciting travels were.
I'd say Japan was probably the best. We've been to Germany, England, France, but Japan, they actually make you feel like you're the Beatles there. When you get off the plane, go over there riding first class and everything, but when you get off that plane, guys, it's unreal. There's 20,000 little screaming kids there. So you feel like you're the Beatles or something. It's just unbelievable. I'd say that's probably my favorite thing. And I went over there also. I went over there 3 times with Vince Neil from Motley Crue also. Same thing happened every time. They just make you feel like that. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, just fun stuff.
Very friendly people. And I think people hear so much about Japan being very formal. And While there is a lot of formality, they're also very fun people. They love to laugh and have a good time, and I was surprised at how much I laughed when I went to Japan.
Oh, you bet. I mean, the kids are just they're very exuberant because they're kind of low-key until it comes to rock and roll. And when you play Budokan over there, they just come unglued. And it's a wonderful place to play. I mean, I'd do it tomorrow. So should you guys.
Yes.
So, I know you had a lot of success in the record industry, and Turn Up the Radio is probably the song that people know the most. I mean, the one that right away pops into your head when you hear Autograph.
Sure.
And that's what they're showing on MTV right now, isn't it?
Yes, they're showing our video. I believe between that and VH1, they're showing our video anywhere between 4 and 8 times a day.
Yeah.
Since we won that poll, so it's kind of, you know, it's me young.
We're not going to talk about those reactions either. It was kind of shocking. It was like, whoa. You know, you see somebody that you know now that you didn't know then, and you know how different everybody looks when they're younger.
Well, it was 1987, so.
Yeah. So what happened? Tell me about, first of all, tell me about the gold records.
Well, we got the, matter of fact, I have an interesting story about how I got my ear pierced. I was never been one of these tattoo guys or an ear pierce guy, and I never thought I would have a gold record. So I said, if we ever go gold, guys, I'll get my ear pierced. And I had to get 3 sheets to the wind just to do it, and it's not really difficult, let's face it. Yeah, but we were doing what they call an in-store, where you go to, you know, and on the day of in San Francisco, on the day you go to a mall and you sign autographs for a couple of thousand kids, and then you go play the concert. But got a little tipsy that day and went and got my ear pierced and had a nice diamond put in it and got gold records, and then we flew to New York, and all the original 5 VJs from MTV were there. You know, Martha Quinn, J.J. Jackson, all those people were there at our party. Nothing starts till about 2 o'clock in the morning there anyway. So if you know what I mean, it's like, hey, you got to schmooze and all that stuff. But they were all there, and we had this huge board with all those people's autographs and our autographs, and it was just, it lasted till 4 or 5, and it was one of the most magnificent things, and we got our gold records. It was just tremendous, yeah. And then about a week later, we went up and did the Canadian part of our tour, and we got that gold record. I've got more gold records than this, but these are my 2 favorite because they're my 2 first.
Your 2 first.
Yeah, and so it's been a wonderful ride. I never thought anything like this was going to happen. I thought I was just going to play some bars in Pocatello and have fun. Yeah. And then that happened. So, what happened then? I mean, with Autograph, what was the end of the band, and what are your plans in the future? And, well, I decided to leave, and I did a bunch of national commercials for Speedo and Nike, and decided to just get off the road for a minute. And then I went with Vince Neil from Motley Crue for about 4.5 years, and damaged my thumb really bad in a tour bus accident, just a total accident. And so couldn't play for a couple of years there, but still kept writing some songs, went up to Coeur d'Alene and lived, got a condo up there, and Tom and I have our studio up there. And so we're still with that, since I've had some family illness lately, so I haven't even seen my own house in a 1.5 years, if you know what I mean. But still writing, still helping these guys out, and you know, trying to arrange and try to write with them if they'll let me. And, you know what I mean? And just, you know, doing it.
So you plan to stay in the music industry?
Without a doubt, without a doubt. I'm also a producer. I co-produced our 2nd record, so I'm in the production end of the deal, and the arranging part of the thing. I think these guys can kind of testify to that, and writing with them. And right now, while my dad is ill, I'm going to stay here and take care of him and still keep up with the music. And my phone bills are huge, if you know what I mean. So, but it's going to take its course, and we'll see what happens. But I definitely take care of my dad. I just went to Seattle and saw my guitar player I hadn't seen for 12 years from Autograph, Steve Lynch. He's got 3 books out. He's a world-renowned guitar player, and travels around the world doing classes and all that stuff.
Neat.
I mean, yeah, he does clinics and classes and does very well for himself. So I got to get away for a few minutes and go up there, and of course, you know, we were just totally sat there and drank coffee, and it was nothing.
So, you're going to be here. I mean, you'll be here for a little while. We don't know how long you'll be here.
Looks like it.
But you know, I think it's kind of funny because have you noticed? First of all, have you noticed since you're showing up on MTV and VH1 all the time more frequently. And before, you know, you were still getting some play, but now it's more frequent again. Do
Heavy
people here in
rotation,
Pocatello notice? I mean, those of us that know who you are, yeah. But do you get people coming up and going, "Holy cow, are you that guy from Autograph?"
Oh yeah, I certainly do. I sign a lot more autographs since we won these 2 polls. There's you know, I signed a lot of autographs maybe about a year and a half ago. Yeah. But everybody's kind of used to me, like you say. We're all friends now. Everybody knows I'm, you know, I ain't nothing.
You don't get to be the celebrity in this group.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of
But you know, the people that don't know, you ask for my autograph and things, and it's you know, it's trippy. And I went up to Seattle, and anywhere I went up there, they hadn't seen me for a long time, and we're still popular around the world. So I still sign a lot of autographs and do all that kind of stuff. It's not just turn up the radio. We have another 7 or 8 videos in heavy rotation, all parts of the world, also in Japan and Italy and Germany. So it's still it's still going on, and it wasn't just these polls that did it. It's still going on.
It's still going on
but this
anyway.
just, you know, it pumped it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, it's like if you're on 8 times instead of once a week, then yeah. So.
Well, you know, I think one of the things that's neat is that, you know, you are a normal guy. I think you see these bands on TV, and you just know that, boy, those are wild people. And I know there's some wild times. We've talked about those. But, you know, I mean, you're a normal guy, and you hang out with all of us. And other than the fact that your hair's a little longer than most people in Pocatello, women included, is nobody really noticed. You know what I mean? So I think that's really cool, and that kind of brings us into the next part of our show. Now, were you and Mike friends before you left, or has this happened since you've been back?
No, this has happened since I've been back. We've probably been friends for about a year and a half now.
Yeah,
When you
that's
say.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Right.
And one of our bartender friends said, "This guy likes your music and wants to meet you." And we met at the bar, and we clicked just like that. Yeah, it was real quick, and then I got to meet the rest of these idiots.
I told him. I complained. He says, "Oh yeah." So I took him over to the studio and showed him. He goes, "Wow."
Yeah, these guys have a real nice studio. They've really got it together. They're going to do something. They've just got to get out and do it. And they sound really good.
And we've got 4 of the 5 members of the band here, so let's talk about the band some and introduce everybody and hear a little bit about how you got doing this and what you hope to do. The band's South Haze, right?
That's correct.
It's spelled H-A-Z-E, so it's kind of off the street, but it's a little variation. That's kind of cool.
You want to hear how we got it?
Sure.
Well, Ted and I and the rest of the bands are rehearsing on a street called South Haze.
Right.
So my brother Greg, he suggests, why don't we call the band that? And so we dropped the
Put the twist in.
and we dropped the Y to make it a Z, and he said that works. So that's how we got it. Where we were rehearsing is on South Haze.
I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
It makes it more unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and band names come up funny. I can remember hearing the story about Led Zeppelin got their name because somebody suggested something stupid, and they said, that'll go over like a lead balloon, and the other person who was British said a Led Zeppelin, and it stuck. You know, it's like, you know, you get weird things, you know. So is that a true story? I mean, I'd always heard that. I never knew if it was.
Everybody had different ideas of what they wanted to go.
Cool, I knew you'd know.
Yeah, well, I know the guys.
So you play keyboards.
Yes, I do.
Good. And how long you been doing that?
I've been playing since I was 6 years old.
Since you were 6.
Yeah.
And he's all of 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. We can talk about age, I promise.
Don't do that.
Everybody knows mine, unfortunately.
Yeah, you just said when you graduated. That was making me feel good because it was before me. So, play keyboards. How about you, Ted? What's your part?
Well, I
of the
play
band?
bass. I've
play
been playing
bass?
going on 12 years.
Yeah?
12 years I've been playing bass. Yeah. Different styles of music, but I love all kinds of styles of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how about you, Jimmy?
I'm lead vocals. I sing anything from all the way to country to pop to the classic that we do, the new stuff. I love all the music.
Neat.
He's got a great range, real great range. He's a real good singer.
Thank you.
How about you?
I play lead guitar and do some backup work for Jimmy.
Okay. And we're missing the drummer. Who's the drummer?
His name?
Kevin.
Kevin.
And he's
off surfing.
He's surfing
He's
content.
taking a little bit.
break.
Yeah, exactly.
Just came from Oregon, Salem, and he was in a hot band up there for the past 10 years, and they did a lot of original work, and
Great.
He just moved here a week before he answered our ad, and so he's fit right
Yeah,
in.
we were having a lot of trouble getting a drummer, a lot of trouble.
I remember you guys had signs. I mean, I remember seeing the signs.
yeah.
He
Drummer
popped
needed.
up out of the blue, and he's just very solid. He played a lot of surf punk music that was really hard and fast, so he really fits right into the
Got a
motif
real
that
good
gets us
rhythm.
going.
And what kind of music do you play? I mean, an assortment, or tell me some of the types of things you're playing.
Boy, we play all of it. Alternative, classic. We play a lot of, everything's covers right now. We have one original song that we do that Greg wrote. But then Steve helped us put it together and brought
Polish it up.
It turned out really nice, yeah.
Trick right there. You know.
It's quite a power
We know
ballad.
Steve.
Turned out
It's
real
our
nice.
in.
That's your end. Yeah.
We want to write.
It's our number, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's the way to go.
Eventually we'll go all
Every time here, you kind of got to play the cover songs, so
Right.
that's what we're going
And I know you're just getting ready to go public. How long have you been practicing together now? How long have you been together as this band, you know, with this drummer and,
The drummer,
and
how
all
long?
that?
Well, drummer's fairly new, 2 months.
Yeah.
I came back from Boise. I spent 10 years up there, and when I moved back, Mike and Ted were together, and my brother was calling me, start a band, start a band. So finally, I twisted and couldn't,
His wife
you know.
used to work for me, and
Yeah.
they
Yes.
happened to come back into town. She had gotten into an accident, and she was over here at the police station, and I saw her there, and I hit her up because I'd heard that he played guitar, and from there we all slowly came together.
Yeah, that's neat.
Done a lot of fun too.
So what do y'all do for your day jobs? I mean,
I'm a cabinet maker.
yeah, maker, and I know Ted, you're a house painter.
Small painting.
Do some computer work.
Yeah, and I know you're a volunteer, busy guy extraordinaire.
Yeah, I'm custodian at the Masonic Temple.
Oh, you are? I didn't know
Yeah.
that part.
I'm building maintenance.
Oh, I see.
Also, I'm with the Pocatello Mile Railroad Club here in town.
And the amateur radio.
And
club.
amateur radio, yes.
So I see you out at all kinds of community events,
Oh, yes.
volunteering, and yeah, that's kind of how we partly got to know each
That's
other.
right.
So what's the plans? When's your first gig?
July 1st.
Duffy's.
At Duffy's.
July 1st at Duffy's.
Yeah, it'll be at 4 p.m. and I think they're having a barbecue.
We
too, if
have,
I remember.
yeah, we're gonna try and have a barbecue and before
Daytime
we
thing,
go
kind of
on
laid back just to bring
Yeah.
ourselves out
Are you
to.
gonna play inside or out in the deck, or
inside.
right in that corner towards the front there?
That's where you had the window
So the band will be inside, but there'll be a barbecue and it's happy hour, and there'll be no. Is there a cover charge to come in that
No
day?
cover charge,
cover
this one's
charge?
free.
Great.
Just want people to see how we
Right.
play and see
So
what we
that'll be
sound
your
like.
debut, and then do you have some other stuff or some potential stuff lined up?
Well, we're hoping to get in the street fair.
Hoping
there.
for the street
Yeah, we
fair.
want to do an audition
By
for
the
that.
14th.
Yeah.
The chances look very good.
Good.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, I would look really
Huge
forward to that. We
nowadays.
really want to try hard to get into that, so we're going to play real well then.
Good. So tell me about how you guys. I mean, what's your goal? What do you want to see happen?
Well, I'd like to set
Sky's the
a record.
limit. You know, I mean,
I just want,
I ain't going to pack up and move out, but I mean, I sure would like, with the opportunities these days, you know, you have the internet going online and everything, so you can download.
See, this might be the goal.
Yeah, there
That's
you
the
go.
goal.
Yeah. All that glitters is gold, see, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
definitely.
got a right person to help us with that.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
for
want to
sure.
get out and play a lot.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, get seen, let people
Get a
see
good
what we sound
sound.
like.
Grounded, yeah.
So obviously you've been helping these guys some. Tell me, you know, there's a lot of people out there that have said, oh, I'd love to be in a band, or, you know, I'd love to, you know, I played an instrument for years. I'm one of those. I play several instruments and always said, oh, this would be really cool, but, you know, I've never gone any farther. What do you suggest somebody do? How do you start out?
Well, I'd say the first thing, get the right band together like these guys did. They searched for a drummer for basically a year.
Yeah.
And once they got the combination, the thing gelled so heavily. I would say at least start with another person. And because two heads are better than one
Yes.
no matter what.
Right.
And then continue on. If you want more people in the band, you can decide that. I mean, there's Seals and Crofts. They made it as two people. I mean, there's Hall and Oates, and then you hire a band. But I mean, two people playing alone doesn't always really get it. Even if you're a James Taylor or an Elton John, you still have a band.
Right, you got to have somebody,
Yeah, you got to have somebody else
some
playing.
sound, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's you know, my advice is to get really good on your instrument and have your own thing together first.
Right.
Like if you're the
Basically
singer, then
practice.
sing
That's
great.
right.
You know, if you're the bass player, come to rehearsal with your parts together. If you're the keyboard player, guitar player, anything, come together. Then that way it doesn't have to. You're what I call unbustable.
Yeah.
That way you can throw around ideas and exchange stuff and make things better. If there's a weak link, so to speak, and I don't mean the TV show, yuck, But if there is, then you have to get it together, and that's what I've been trying to impress on these guys is to really just have your own thing together, and then that makes the whole band to come together way faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the other thing I don't think people realize is how much work there is for a band, because it's not just, you know, you guys got to work during the day, you know, have regular jobs to support yourself, and then you're going out and practicing and then doing gigs and all that. But there's the expense of buying equipment, and not just your instruments, you know, the sound equipment, and set up and tear down before and after gigs.
Well, that's good, yeah. It's fun, yeah.
There's a lot of work to be done, yeah.
If you don't like it, you won't do it.
Yeah,
Right.
you got to really want it.
So we all love music, and, you know, we're fortunate Steve's in there as a huge music lover and filling us full of information and,
Yeah.
you know.
Pumping the
Well, another
general.
thing people don't understand, Tamara, is that even cutting a record, I mean, people think you just set up your stuff and you're done.
Or you pay somebody at your stage to set up your stuff.
Well, we do that. but what I mean is, it usually takes 6, 8, 10 months to cut a record.
Right.
That's 16, 18 hours a day, and people think you just set up your stuff and lay down, you know, it takes 3 hours and 3 days later to get a snare drum sound. So there's a lot more to it and a lot more patience than people imagine. I've brought people down to the studio, and after an hour, it's, because it's, you know, it's work.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like
So-
the CD we just got done, you and I.
Yeah, I mean, there's actual work involved. It's not like you so-called pop a beer and play your part and walk
Yeah,
out.
go home.
Yeah,
No.
go home.
Doesn't work that way.
No.
Yeah, but these guys know they're working really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's paying off without a doubt.
And so you and Mike worked on a CD?
Yes, for Michael Dean Getch, you know him. He's a local promoter.
Yeah.
And Tony Alvarez, a producer from LA, fairly famous producer, flew up. And Martin Hackworth, he does local sound and a lot of production around here.
He's Jimmy 511 Audio, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's his
And
studio. Yeah.
and Mike, just to give credit to these guys, because I know that these guys get out and do public service too. Jimmy 511 Audio owns the chamber, their sound system for events from time to time, and I see him out at events.
Sure.
And Michael Getch, when we had the fundraising dinner for the skate park, we had a silent auction on the services of the band that was playing there, and he just put a high enough bid to knock everybody else out of the water just to contribite to the skate park.
Yep,
Wow.
that's
You know,
right.
which
Great.
was neat. You know, I really, that was cool.
Well, we're involved in a really nice network around here. I think it's everybody's got it together and works really hard, and I think these guys have really got a chance to go somewhere because everybody's behind us.
Yes.
And there's, you know, there's so much talent in town that you don't realize.
That's
You know,
right.
people like yourself that can help people, and you know, Michael Getch. There's a lot more of that talent here than you would realize. I think we get to taking the local musicians for granted because, you know, there's a dearth of bands playing all the time at different places, and you hear the bar owners talking about, or, you know, even the underage clubs or whatever, they talk about, oh, it's hard to get enough people in here to fill the place and make the music pay and all that kind of stuff.
You bet.
But I think in a large part that's because there are so many talented musicians and people are spread out and you can't be everywhere at once, you know?
bet, you bet.
And so I think that has a lot to do with it. It's not a lack of good music or good musicians. It's actually a
Yeah, there's a ton of
Where do
them
you want to
around here.
explosion
Yeah,
of
It's a
them.
lack of
Yeah.
venues and clubs to play and
Right.
the competition.
Yeah.
You know, I was in Boise and versus there, it's a lot tougher here.
Yeah.
And I agree, there's
Not as much room for
good
you.
musicians here.
Yeah, a lot of good musicians and not as many clubs, and they don't
Yeah.
have as much room.
Right.
You got
Yeah.
to kick back.
Yeah.
But it's nice having,
We're on our
especially
way.
like Michael Dean involved and Martin Hackworth involved. I got to mention those two guys because they're just doing very well for, you know, they're going to do anything they can for these guys, and they're very prominent around here, and that will help a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That'll
I'm
get-
going to do everything I can. So
One thing about Greg being back from Boise, he knows a lot of venues up there, so we get tuned up, ready to go. We can play Boise. We got a friend in Salt Lake that could help us get gigs down there. So, I mean, Pocatello's not the limit. It's every
Just the
place.
beginning.
Yeah,
This is
it's
just beginning.
Sure.
Beginning.
There's
Couple
great
years, I think.
people here and in this area that I
yeah,
would
if you
love
guys
to
can
play
never
for,
make
you
the
know.
lad.
Yeah, wait.
Big city of my lad.
Played the Mackie
You're
radio.
gonna have
Well, and I think that this town is also becoming a little bit more, it just seems like people are talking more about music, and there's more things being planned with bigger venues, you know, where you can have more music, more outdoor festival type of things. We've seen a lot more of that in the last couple of years. And not to let the cat out of the bag too quick here, but I'm working with a committee of people that we would like to put together a nice big brew fest like they just had in Idaho Falls. And that'd be about a year and a couple months away, you know, because we want to do it right when we do it. We want to have an event that brings people from all over the state. But, you know, there's more of that and more interest in doing that kind of things here. And that should give the bands more opportunity too, and get you a little more exposure.
It's tough getting exposure, so.
It is.
Stuff like this. And it makes music better.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I think that you made the remark that when you start out in a band here, you're going to play your gig and you got to invite all your friends because you got to make sure, you know, that you got a crowd. You know, you're calling up people you haven't seen for 3 years. You got to come see us play, you know, and it's kind of tough. So we want to help you get a good crowd out for your debut. So let's go over the date and the times and the place again.
July 1st, Dudley's. Or Duffy's. Duffy's, sorry. Duffy's. They sound so much the same.
I know.
At 4 p.m.
4 p.m., 4 to 6 p.m. July 1st at Duffy's. Duffy's is on the north end of Main Street for people that don't know.
From Main Street, main event.
Yeah, from the main event, yep. Well, we have a few minutes left. Steve, tell us something, one of those tour stories. No, not the ones with girls.
Let's see.
Tell us one of your wild stories.
You told me not to like talk dirty, so I don't know where to start.
You don't have any that aren't like that, huh?
Yeah. We did play a gig down in Houston with Vince Neil, and he showed up. He went to a strip club, and we were supposed to go on at 8:30, and he took off in a limo, and it turned 9:30, and the place was full. Then it turned 10, then it turned 10.
No.
Then it turned 11, and we had 2 huge, luxurious tour buses and everything. It turned 11:30. It turned 12. He was still at this place, and I mean, this place probably had, I don't know, it was about 7,000 people. I mean, you know, a good crowd.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it hits about midnight, and he's still not there, and they're trying to tip over our tour buses. And I mean, you get enough people there, they can do that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're sitting on the tour bus, and the owner of the place, you know, the hall, will not let our equipment out. I mean, he said, you guys haven't played, and you already got paid. So, you know, I'm sitting there on the bus going,
oh, my gosh.
my 2 keyboards are in there, all of our guitars and everything, and it was just too scary. Finally shows up, plays about 3 songs, falls on his ass.
That'll be bleak.
Exactly. And that's all we played. That's it. That was it. They almost tipped over the 2 buses. We barely got out of there. We had probably 300-400 cars following us back to the hotel.
Oh, brother.
And it was incredibly ugly.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, that is pretty funny, and that's a great story, and it stayed pretty clean, so. Thanks, you guys. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here, you guys. I really appreciate it, and good luck on your first gig, and you know I'll be there. So, thanks.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Bear with me.